Welcome to In the Know with Lolo Knows, where we dive deep into the beats that move us and the hearts that inspire us. I'm your host, Lolo, and today we have a very special guest, DJ Scent, a true purveyor of house music. With roots in Detroit's soulful sound and a spirit infused with Southern hospitality, DJ Scent has been lighting up dance floors for over 3 decades. Her vibrant presence behind the decks doesn't just make you move, it creates community and connection, and even in the face of adversity. From the deep and vocal house to gospel and be more, DJ Sense Fresh tracks are a celebration of diversity and resilience. Today, we'll explore her incredible journey, her commitment to uplifting others, and her mission to spread positivity through music. So get ready to groove and feel inspired as we unravel the magic of DJ Scent.
Oh,
Yes, and that smile. It lights up a whole room, the
there
whole
it is.
stage, and everything. As somebody who smiles big with her whole being, you do the
Yeah,
same thing, and I recognize that, and
yeah.
I love it so much.
That's what's leading the way for me in 34 years of DJing has been the smile. Even though you want to cry sometimes.
Ain't that the
But
truth?
oh man, this journey has been really crazy, but it's been fun. It's what you make it. That's what I tell people.
Yeah.
You know, do you though, for sure.
Bree, let me ask you something. What have you? I know we're going to be diving deep into your roots and everything, but how are you feeling about this up and coming movement?
Oh, I'm always excited. Anytime we get an opportunity to perform in front of a mass crowd or any crowd, whether it's one people to thousands of people, it just gives you an opportunity to be seen as well by so many who don't even know who you are. So I just say make the festivals even bigger than the 9 to 2 or the 10 to 2 parties. You got to really go out for these festivals. So it's going to be a fun set. So if you come to see me, is I hope you're going to be talking about it for sure.
Do you have any memorable performances that have stuck out at you in your whole career that still just feels like boom, like that was your pivotal moment?
For my sets or me
Yeah,
seeing someone else?
your sets. Like, are there any
Um,
few that like stand
you
out
know what?
throughout your career?
I was say one of the ones that really does that I would say. I did the Detroit Distillery, which was it was during the mural in the Easter markets. They were doing a street party, and it was an Easter market. And when I got there, a hip hop DJ was playing, so that was a little bit different. But it might have been maybe 50 people in front of her. And I got on to start that I always play house. That's who I am. And so I got going for whatever reason, the street just came that way. And it probably was maybe 5 to 6 thousand people on that street when I got in the middle of that set. And to turn around and see that from, like I say, about 50 people to a block almost need to be shut down
Hmm.
was one that I can definitely remember. I remember clearing floors too. So so to have them come as if you're summoning them, to where you are, it's always a great feeling.
Let me ask you something. When you got 3 decades, you've learned a lot.
Man,
You've grown as an artist. There have been, ups and downs, ins and outs, people that we once, had in our lives, you know what I mean, no longer
man,
with us,
yes,
till like, you never think about getting to a certain age and you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm still young, but these people have perished or
sure. Or
like
trends
things
have
or
changed.
just things have changed and then you're missing what used to be and now you have to adopt and still love what's now and what's
Sure,
present.
sure.
How
It,
has that impacted you during that time? And even though I've been in this scene, just as not only as a music aficionado, the club kid dancer, the
yeah,
girl who carried the records, the girl who was the last to leave and didn't want the
come on.
party to end.
That was me.
To
Yeah,
being
yeah.
a DJ, to doing a podcast because I love the culture too so much, to becoming a DJ to now like
being a
you
producer
know,
and putting
yeah,
out
being a
music.
producer and now just all of this. Like
Man,
wow.
yeah,
My journey, especially in the last 15 years, it's been a trip.
oh, I'm sure. I
A
came out like
trip.
you, a club kid. That was probably one of the best things. Being someone who just actually went out and party, not a DJ,
Yeah.
just a fan of the music for at least a decade or so before that. And then ran into Kelly Hand over at a club called Zippers, which is Pandora's Box now. She was doing a night over there, and I ran into her. Me and her have been friends at that time for a few years as well. And just
Mhm.
watching her on some turntables, I was like, man, I think I need to be doing that. So,
Right?
just her inspiration of just pushing forward and being the mega that she was, and then also influencing me to say, hey, if you get you some turntables, I'll come over and show you some pointers. And from that point on, I've been running on. But what I did was different than a lot of other DJs.
Mhm.
I made my own parties. Um, the DJ world when I came out, we weren't kumbaya. I mean, they you want to get the impression that we're all working together. No, we weren't. It was a very competitive business because it was based upon money. If
Mhm.
you get someone's crowd, you've taken their night. So no one's happy that you're showing up. And let's be honest, you know. And
Yes.
so I
Wow.
was a part of the boy crowd. I was along with the black gay male crowd. And
Mhm.
so very few, I don't think any before me that can actually hold a male crowd. That's what I became known for. And so I was really a late night girl, 11 p.m. to 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's my time. And so I very rarely played anything before midnight. And so the funny story I always tell people when I crossed over, I like to say that, to the Teresa Hills crowd, which was at that time she was doing Project 81.
I
And
love Teresa Hill.
man, Teresa Hill, big shout out to her. But anyway, she invited me to come down to a new group of people that she wasn't really familiar with what I did. She got more and more around me and started to know, okay, you can play. But getting the opportunity, like I said, to cross over was so funny because you always hear singers say, "Well, I want to go from country to R&B," or so it's sort of like I want to go from gay to straight, and so. But then the next ultimate thing was from gay straight to white, and so you always want the bigger crowds, whoever's going to
Yeah.
pull the more people. And so Teresa Hill gives me that opportunity as far as radio, as far as her Project 81 crowd. The funny thing is, I had to play at 8 p.m., which
Mhm.
I hadn't done an early set in probably 20 years before that. So when I got to 8 p.m., I said, "Ain't nobody gonna be there." But okay, let me go down here and be a trooper. you know,
Yeah.
when I when I say it
I'm
was,
still being a trooper. Trust
but
me, I
look, the
know.
difference was her crowd was there at 8 o'clock. They were packed, and
Mhm.
so it was so much fun. But yeah, I mean, the journey is what you make it. One of the most valuable things I could tell my young people out here now: don't put all your eggs in one basket unless you're going to use this as a business.
Mhm.
If not, get you a 9 to 5. I've always worked a regular job.
Mhm.
A lot of DJs back then, you could really work and just be a DJ because you made really good money.
They
But
were paying because I
I
remember
mean,
what the
we were
DJs were getting paid back in the day. They were damn near getting at least five so at the bigger clubs like 500 a night, easy.
look. I made $1,500 on average parties. We were no,
Right.
not little paid. I'm talking about paid.
Yeah,
So you
pay.
didn't really have to really work a regular job.
The
But
problem, yeah.
But I have to say, but the issue is, as we're starting to get older, we're
Yeah.
starting to see some of that unfortunate situations with some of our elder DJs
Mhm.
needing financial help because they didn't work and they didn't put in time to put Social Security in or a 401k.
Yeah.
And so I just say, if you're going to do this and you're going to go both feet in, make sure you run this as a complete business and put away more money than you spend. If this is going to be your
That's why
thing.
Lolo knows exists. You know, that's why when it was it had to come to it had to make sense for me because I was putting in time. You know what
Oh,
I mean? Time, money,
yes,
effort, consistency. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like all of these years to get to where I'm at right now.
sure. And we
And I
could
had to
mind
treat
them.
it as a business,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that
That's
point.
my
But
point.
a lot of people though in the scene gate, because some people resent that when you handle things, but that's not the kind of business I want to conduct. You know what I mean? Because it is a business. I love having fun more than anybody.
Sure,
I'm there to be not only professional, but I'm here to party too. You know what I mean?
sure,
I am a party
sure.
girl, and I enjoy it, but I also can handle my shit.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference. I
You know what
mean,
I'm saying?
I just
Like,
tell most DJs, you can't party while you're the spinner.
right.
If you're a DJ for that night, you got to either wait till your set is completely over with. I always say, just my rim of thumb, I don't want to party with the people I just DJ
I'm
for.
talking about partying in
But
regards to dancing and having
oh,
fun
sure,
and all
sure,
of that. Not just all the other stuff that comes with
sure.
it. Cause like
Hello,
drinking and all
man.
that stuff. Look, I like to have my cocktail or two, even when
Sure.
I'm going and doing like long stretches,
Come on.
but I know how to control my shit because I'm having fun, but you can do both and be professional. You could
Yeah,
really have a lot of fun and still be professional.
that's the main point. That's the main point. Yeah.
And people can appreciate that. The promoters appreciate that, the club owners appreciate that. You feel good because you were real present for your set. You remember,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? You know what
Yeah.
you did. You're
Yeah.
carrying that feeling. That's
Yeah.
the high I get. And
Yes.
I know like somebody like you who I've seen countless times. You always are in the music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I got to learn from the best people. And
Sure.
you're one of those people. Minx is one of those people. Delano's one of those people. You know, uh it's just it makes me feel so good. And even when Todd brought me into the fold with Charivari,
Sure.
um, Todd Johnson,
Uh-huh.
Charivari, Detroit.
Shout out. Yeah.
Shout out all day, every day. And now, now with Silly Girl, doing her
Mhm.
thing and, blowing up and everything. And it's just like, it's just such a beautiful thing because house music does live, and Detroit has made such an amazing house music community. And to
Sure.
be even, to be a part of it means like the
Sure.
world to me because y'all see me and respect. I think real recognizes real, and
Sure.
we're all like
Well,
doing
we're
something that
grinders.
we love. And I love
Yeah.
that Detroit is also very picky. They're not just, they don't just embrace anybody.
No. Well, you put in the work and we see the work, then we can embrace what you're doing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that either. Detroit is funny. And so a lot of it depends upon what have you have given them before they embrace you. And
Yeah.
that's not how it should be. It should be welcoming you regardless. And that's the problem we have with the scene being so much older. We haven't welcomed our younger people in. I consider myself all over the board. I don't necessarily just do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't just make one type of house or tech house or ghetto
Right.
house or. So I think it just depends. I just think your creativity should be wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get in the studio, make whatever you like. Sometimes make some stuff you don't like. But just be, I think, as open as possible because sometimes we get put in.
I want to dive into some techno.
I
I'm gonna
think
be
that's what you got
honest.
to do. I mean, because the thing is everyone wants to put you in a certain box of
Right.
how you're supposed to play, how you're supposed to sound, what your music's supposed to produce like. And I've never came into that because the arenas I played in were really about your energy. And to move a male crowd, you have to have energy. And so some
Yes.
of this, I call it soulful, Congo bongo. No one's dancing to that. I mean, young people don't want to hear collective educational shit. They want to hear some stuff that's bumping and let's go. So
Yes.
we got to be mindful when we make this music. Sometimes we got to remember we're older. Of course, we want to put that message out there. But is that message with a good funky beat? Because if it ain't,
Mm-hmm.
on the shelf it goes. So um, it's funny to me how many people make music but don't play their own music. I mean,
Oh, really?
oh my God, you can
And
see.
you know what? It makes you think. Why don't you like playing your own music?
Well, there's a question mark. I mean,
I play all my music.
well, you like your music, so
That was the only
uh,
way I would go and put on any music if
yeah.
what's the point?
What's the point? but you'd be surprised because of the industry. Sometimes it's not about the actual quality; it's the quantity of how many records you have out. But that's the problem. You can have 50 garbage tracks. I would rather have five really great tracks that people
Right.
can identify than a catalog that I don't even want to look at. But
That's
unfortunately, that's the
yes.
business. The business is about what have you done for me lately. So a lot of these DJs and producers are constantly putting out records, but they're not always that good. So I mean,
I
you know,
I I do like concentrating on my best work, and that way I put
sure,
it out. That way I can kind of focus on being an artist as
I like
well.
that.
Like, and art isn't just the music. It's like
Yeah,
it's me writing, or it's me talking. It's me, all these other hats that are very important to me,
sure.
is
Hello,
what I also take care of. It's like my
sure.
whole household, but my
Hello.
household full of gifts. So
But that's
I'm paying
boring.
attention to all of my gifts,
Yeah,
and managing all of these gifts
yeah,
within,
yeah.
and it's not always easy. And,
No,
some things get, it's a very exhausting task, especially when you don't roll with a posse, and you
there it
don't
is.
have like a crew and you're really the one woman show,
Pretty much.
or like whatever, and then
I mean,
it's
you have some that are recruiters and they recruit people to come and do the work for them. I've never been that sort of kind. Like I said, I come out during the time where we weren't really all that kumbaya. We weren't sharing and caring with each other. It was more so you stay over there in your lane, I'm gonna stay over here in my lane, and we're gonna make this money. But today you have a lot more because of social media. You can unite with other people and become kind of more collective because it's really about
Mm-hmm.
who you know, more so who you know. And that's just the reality of it. If you're not in that clique or group that's doing whatever it is you're trying to get into, it's going to be hard to get knocking that door unless your talent just outweighs all the other stuff. Unless
Yeah.
you just mind blowing, like, woo, who is that? You don't see that too often. Now, I'll make a quick funny example of like Horse Girl.
Okay.
Do you know who Horse Girl is?
I do not.
Oh, okay. So Horse Girl is actually playing the festival this year,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole gimmick is actually that they're dressed as a horse face, and so I mean you
A
have to see it.
horse, a horse.
No, yes, I mean very well done. I mean it's not. Yeah, you have to Google her, but yeah, but I say that to say we go back to now. One good thing I will say about this:
Okay, go ahead.
Horse Girl can actually play.
I'm,
So
I would hope so.
yeah, but you were surprised that sometimes the gimmick can outweigh the talent because the gimmick is so unique and cool. You still get the gig and you're horrible. But in this particular case,
100%.
she is just as talented as the look. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, the look is very unique. So you're like, what the hell is that? That's what I said the first time. But when you got a million followers, guess who's going to end up on the festival stage?
I know.
So it's not nowadays how much greater DJ you can be. It's what your numbers are, and that's I hate this whole
Don't you
yeah
miss the
yeah
days when it was more
man
selective?
when talent ruled. Um,
Yes.
the
Like
difference too.
once upon a time,
Oh,
that
trust,
was a fact, even in all
trust.
aspects of the music industry. And there were people that afraid to tell you if you were crap or not. Oh,
Oh, of
you need to
course, of
practice
course.
some more before you're not ready for it yet. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? People didn't like get a second or third opinion.
yeah.
That they're it was very tight knit, but it was also very selective.
Well, the best of the best only played. That's
Right. The best of the best played.
and the
You
community I
damn
come
right.
from. I don't know about everybody else. I can't
Right.
speak for
It's
everybody else,
true.
but
No,
for
it's
me
true. And we
in our
paid money to
circle,
go to the club. We paid like 20, $25 for
well,
entry fee back then to get into the
yeah.
club.
So
Back
I mean,
then.
yeah, you had to. I mean, we were on the lower end. We were $5, $10 clubs.
Right.
We were cheaper in, but like I said, the enthusiasm of what the DJ brought was the most important part.
It was. And
And
we
so
wanted
certain
we wanted to
DJs,
see that
oh
energy.
my god, and a lot of it too. because well, it was a bigger combination. What everything dummied down, the sound system dummied down, lighting the clubs dummied down, talent dummied down because friends started hiring friends. And so you can't
Mm,
hire your boy
right.
and really rock a club if you know that the better DJ is going to cost you some money. And
Good
so
point.
a lot of what we're doing now is friends are just on friend tickets. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a great party. And
Mm-hmm.
so you wonder why your rooms are empty and why
Right.
nobody's coming to support. And it's 15 DJs and nobody, where are the people at? Where no one wants to hear you and your boy,
Right.
playing garbage all night. You treat this as a basement. This is, I was paid $25 to get in here. What are you talking about? The cost for these clubs are way more expensive today, than I've ever seen. I mean, like you said, some parties are given $20 every now and then, but today's average cost is $20 to $30 to get into a special club, especially
That's true.
on a given night.
That's
I'm not
true.
going to give you $30 and be standing around the corner. What am I doing? What are you playing? And there's five different DJs, and none of them are
But
on the same page.
if your club is known to have great music any night of the week, guess what? They could charge what they want, right?
Well, you know what it is.
I'm just
It's
saying. Like,
kind of,
for
sort of.
instance, TV Lounge.
Uh-huh.
Everybody, it's world famous. You know,
But
it and
but
they
same
have
as here.
they have a nice roster and spotlight. And any other place that's world famous right now that's just producing all the hot stuff. You know what I mean? I
Well, let's be honest. Those places are hit and miss too now.
Are they?
Oh yes, we're all
Really?
searching. So I mean, the, the
There are
difference.
a couple parties on there that
I'm
I
just
feel
saying.
I want to play. So I
Well,
don't even care if
wait a
I
minute.
just open it up. But
Sure.
like House Your Life
Uh huh.
and Judy.
Okay.
Like you know what I mean? Like just that's because they just their energy. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm on that energy and I want to
Sure.
bring add my energy to that mix.
I like it. Yeah.
You know what
But
I
yeah, I
mean?
mean, every place now is they kind of going through this thing because, like I said, it's too many DJs, too much wash down music, not really good music. DJs can't mix. I mean, they're in
Oh,
here.
honey
Oh my,
child.
come on now. I mean, all
Honey,
those things play factors in how you move a crowd.
I'm
And so,
surprised in Detroit that you
man,
say that. I was literally just talking about this on my last show.
oh,
Not
really?
kidding.
Yeah.
You
I
know, it's
mean,
okay to use your headphones.
um, well, once again, we go back to with the same thing I was talking about when it comes to numbers. A lot of these guys are getting booked. One is either your
Mm,
friend is booking you, or two, you have a great following that doesn't really care if you're technically sound. Well, I came out during the era you had to. There was no choice of you being technically sound. If you wasn't technically on your stuff, you wasn't playing.
I
But
wonder
that's
if
not
any of these people
today.
are paying to throw their own parties.
Well, I'm sure some maybe. I mean, most places now will let you come in with if you guys because these controllers make everything more convenient for the clubs or
Right.
restaurant. You pull up
Mm.
with your controller, you got a little speaker, and here we go with a little crowd. Next thing you know, you got $5 cover, and everybody's happy. But is it really something that's going to be sustainable? And is it going to be something that people are going to talk about? I come from a era. I want to build a crowd. I want to come from 100 to 3,000 people. But
Yeah.
that's because you're bringing something that people want to hear. I don't know if we can do that. Now, I think some of these bigger name DJs, of course, can. When you start putting certain names on tickets, of course, they're going to pack a house, and that's what you should do. But then the local and the smaller DJs kind of get washed over because where do you fit in? And so we're in a very interesting time right now, for sure.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? And I
Yeah,
feel like I think we're circling back though into I think people are being forced to reflect now. People do need to reflect now more than ever.
sure.
And the dance music scene and what you are in it is even more a reflection on who we become in it.
Sure.
That makes sense. I was trying to get wrap my head around the thought. I don't know if I
I mean,
succeed.
it is what it is. It's just so different from when I
It,
came out in 1991, getting my first set of turntables. Fast forward to 2025. It's been a whirlwind of
yeah.
changes of trends, and then this is no longer cool, and all of a sudden this is more prevalent, and then the EDM showed up and kind of rattled everything, and now you kind of got everybody kind of playing a little bit of everything. But when you get to an old school, I'm gonna tell you one of the best sets I probably heard. Well, a couple. I'll put two people. Honey Dijon, when she came to Movement last year, and
Yeah.
also Spotlight. That was an old fashioned for me, old girl beat down.
Me and you were
Yeah,
there.
my God, she gave, and so another person who gives me that same flavor is Floor Plan, more so Robert Hood.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about old guys. These are old girl, old guy. Been in the business for years, but they come with that old school. We start to set off at a certain minimum state, and then we build our way up. And by the time it ends, you're in a frenzy. And so
Yes.
I miss that. I miss, sometimes you go to these parties and we are a flat line from the time they start. It never goes up, it never goes down. We just flatline all the way through. And then the next DJ gets on and they're flatline. And I didn't come from that. I came from the starter, kind of got the party going. Usually that was all we had was two DJs. Someone got started and then the main person showed up and here we go. And so, but at the end of the it was a beat down. You know,
Yes.
I could not let you walk out of any party I gave without you almost falling out. And I did that for two reasons. People don't understand that. When you're dealing with massive crowds, especially the boys, they can fight. And they will fight. This is years, generations of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
If they're too damn tired, they're hugged up on each other trying to get to the car. Ain't no fighting going on, baby. So my job
Ah!
is to beat you down. When you
Mm-hmm.
walk out, you have steam come out your head. You want to hold on to somebody. You don't even want to go to corner. You so tired. Girl. Did you pick your wings up in the back? Come on, girl. We're going to the car. You was too tired to do anything. And that's where I come from. So I miss those days.
I miss some days too.
I miss those days. You you
Here
leave at
we
the
are. I
airport.
think, yeah. You know what though? I'm pretty happy though. We've been there have been, we got some nice stuff happening here in Cleveland. I like the Cleveland Detroit connection that we've built.
Sure.
Even Akron. Before Cleveland, it was Akron.
Yeah,
There's a Cleveland, Akron, Detroit connection, and I'm
there it
very
is.
proud of it. And we've,
I got
we've
friends
been very
in
proud of it.
Columbus.
There's love, there's respect, there's,
Yeah,
we've had a lot of great parties here over the years, and it continues to build.
sure.
As Cleveland continues to get on the map, and we have like this, it's a nice scene. It's small scene, very small
We'll
scene,
say,
but it's
yeah,
still a scene, a
it's
nice
building and growing.
it definitely has been developing, and I think a lot of reasons is people grow and outgrow going to the clubs, and then you have a new generation of people that need to now find you,
Yeah,
and come out and support
yeah.
and
I
replenish
played
that.
them.
You know what I mean? It's all like
Yeah,
kind of, it's like an
but
evolving door.
yeah. Well, like you said, you made a great point earlier in the conversation. Unfortunately, we lose people as the journey goes, and then you have new people step in and they take over different positions. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember back in the 80s and 90s, especially in the like 90s when I got a chance to play. I think it was a place called Axis. Might have been in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very unique club. And then a couple of guys used to bring us downtown to Cleveland and play some of their bigger parties. And so we didn't really have a real connection with Cleveland like that as much as you would think we would. It has gotten a lot better over probably the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Detroit was never a welcoming city to other people. We were trying to figure our own stuff out. Are we going to be techno or are we going to be house? And so we got to find more so as the techno people. But we really make a lot of techno here? Not really. So
Oh, well, hold up. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to dig into that, in regards to the house scene versus the techno scene, when you guys were coming up. And tell me how, your you and Kelly, for instance, and your history in that.
So I wasn't into the techno sound. I mean, some of the first earlier things they put out, I guess if they consider techno clear and all that, I would listen to it, but it really wasn't, of course, my sort of sound. I came more from more with Melvin Hill, which is
Yeah.
very what we talked about. Melvin Hill was a very big vocal guy,
Mm-hmm.
and so Ken was a little bit of a vocal guy, but also tribal and just weird sounds. Ken would just come up with just such uniqueness, and so those two together kind of formatted us, and we couldn't. I call it message music. You would be in the clubs, and man, here come Ann Nesby, sounds of blackness coming through. So it was that kind of thing that was we were embedded, and that's so techno didn't have a lot of vocals,
Right.
so very rarely that you go to places during the times I come out of that played all just nothing but music. It was never that kind of party. So I kind of didn't ever understand how techno became such a big deal, but I understood that Chicago was sort of the first barriers of house. I kind of thought we kind of came about it at the same time, but I guess from the history standpoint, they were a little earlier than we were.
Mm-hmm.
So they were basically able to claim it. But I didn't really see a lot of the artists that considered themselves techno artists don't really make techno music today. They all make house music today. So, that's just my theory. But, whatever makes you get paid. Yeah, whatever doesn't stop the check. So, if you're
Let
a
me ask
techno
you
guy,
something.
I do that.
How would you compare? I mean, what's the different? What do you think the elemental differences are between Chicago house and Detroit house?
Oh, speed. One of the bigger factors that Detroit got known for was we played our music just a tad bit faster. Not jit speed, not the jit speed. I hate that speed. Now we get into that conversation. But so Detroit usually played in the realm of 126 to maybe 128, where
Mm-hmm.
Chicago might have been around 123 to maybe 125,
Mm-hmm.
and even slower because they played more sometimes disco.
And I'm
And
in
so
between both of y'all, so that's why.
yeah, and there's a difference. But if you wanted to come, Chicago is a place that you mostly were going to hear disco remixes and sort of a laid back. There's a few now. Don't get it twisted. Frankie Knuckles was one that could kind of beat the box. There's another guy named Dana Powell.
Mm-hmm.
He was at the club Generator. This was probably early '80s when I used to go. Yeah, I was a club kid, wasn't a DJ at the time. When I say Dana Powell, baby, gave me that business in the generator at 6 a.m. Yes, he did. But so our thing, like I said, for Detroit, when you came here, you knew you was basically dressed to sweat. Your,
Yes.
your clubs are going to be hot. The DJs are going to take you to a peak level, and they're going to stay up there. That's what Detroit was done. New York didn't do that. Chicago didn't do that. There was no
Right.
other cities that really took you to that real peak time that Detroit did. So I missed that part because, like I said, we've kind of dummied down, and everything has kind of got more laid back, and that's not where we are. And I think that's why you don't hear Detroit being talked about as much. Because if you're going to conform to what everybody else is doing, what makes you stand out?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so,
I could feel you on that.
yeah, well, you
That
can't.
wow.
Yeah, so I'm probably one of the only bangers, as Teresa and the rest of them call me, Simbi banging. That's because I come from energy, and so my tutelage from listening to Ken and Melvin and Kelly Hand. Kelly Hand was the first woman doing ghetto tech. That was a little faster.
Yes.
It was in this house.
I know
Yeah.
about the ghetto
Not,
tech.
but not as fast as Kelly Differs was. When Kelly first made it in the 90s, we still were playing it at 125 to 120. We say 126 to maybe 128. For whatever reason, booty music is what I call it. They call it ghetto tech, but booty music showed up around 83, 84, and the JIT community here developed. So in order for these guys to have a fancy, quick footwork, they spit all the music up. I hated that era because what's happening now, a lot of the DJs are playing house way too fast. You get on some of these sets, it's like, dude, who dancing to this? But you getting it in. The DJ is working out, but there's no one on the dance floor because who can dance at 133? But you. So you got to make it make sense to the people who want to come on the floor. househead people are older. So who would I look like at 61 and you playing your music at 140? I'm just looking at you because go ahead on and shake it, baby. 'Cause I can't do nothing at 140. But look at you. So, feel me? So I'm trying to get these younger guys to understand. I understand you want to create your own style and sound, but you have to back them BPs up a little bit. Just bring them on down some.
Let me ask you something. I mean, over 3 decades, you probably played with everybody. What have
Not
been,
everybody.
I mean, what have been some of your most memorable moments as a DJ?
You know what? Probably just dealing with Kelly. I have to give her big honors. Watching Kelly come from a singing
Kelly
dancer,
Han, Miss
Kelly
Kelly
Han.
Han.
I always
God
call
rest
my,
her
I always
soul.
call it my nickname was Kels. That was my nickname. We were
Kels.
friends for over 35 years. And to at that time, like I say, she was a producer and a DJ way before I even thought about it. And to watch her grind and have crying nights of when she felt like she wasn't appreciated and loved. And then all of a sudden getting that opportunity to be heard and seen overseas and putting out records and making 3 different labels. I watched this young lady work. And people don't realize you see us on stage, you see us, like you say, having a great time, but it's so much behind the scene work
Yes,
that we put in to even be even thought of. And
exactly.
so, I mean, so yeah,
Exactly.
there's still some people that I want to play with that I have not. One thing I can say, I guess, about my career, I wasn't overused. A lot of people didn't want to touch me because I was fire in the hole, and you have to come with some heat. So we ain't playing when you come play fit. You know, so they understood that. They understood that Sin's gonna do her thing. You don't want to come before me. You don't want to come behind me. And so I kind
Hmm.
of got, you know, and then I think too, I'm gonna just put this out here because it's an interesting conversation. I always thought your sexuality didn't matter. All the parties I gave, whether I was a lesbian at that time having a lesbian relationship, or I was a straight girl having a male relationship. I've been bisexual all my life,
Hmm.
but I never thought that it should matter what I did in my bedroom. So my parties wasn't catered to either gay or straight. It was catered to having good music and good DJs that played with me. And I think we're getting too much into the scene now. What your sexuality is. What's who cares what you do in your bedroom? It doesn't matter. If you can play on this box, you should be invited to play on this box.
Right.
And the homophobia in house music has been around for decades.
Really? Do you get
For
that a lot?
decades.
So a lot of
For decades.
homophobia in Detroit. Do you think a
Oh,
lot of it
trust.
has to do with examining that, maybe it has everything to do with someone's spiritual or religious beliefs? Do you
It
think that
can.
gets in
I'm
the
sure
way
it does.
of it?
I think, well, honestly, I mean, if you look back at the history, really, if you really do doge back into the 70s, 80s, and 90s, a lot of your prominent DJs were gay.
Right.
A lot of so we go back to saying your
That's
mentors.
why I'm confused. How do you come into a community that's
Well, the
primarily
issue is,
that's created for gay,
well, it was created for
brown,
all.
black, and indigenous? Yeah, it was,
Yeah,
but
sure,
I'm just saying
sure.
with those specific groups as mentioned, you know, they created a safe space for
Yes,
them because the world wasn't so safe for them
correct.
outside of it.
Yes. But because the nightlife in the gay scene was so hot, when you talk about going to a straight party considered a gay party, the gay party's music was always going to be better.
Hmm.
I'm not sure why. Maybe because of the speed and the energy you have to play for an all male crowd. Women want to sit down. So if you're dating a woman, she's gonna want to do some cuddling and let's do some slow, some slow down and get the chicken wings. When you're dealing with an all male crowd, they want to party. And so I wanted to be where they were. I want to be that nonstop jacking. We did jack for 6 hours, but we still jacking. And that was the party. So it just I want to see us get more back to that. But like I said, the homophobia here, as I go back to the conversation of the Teresa Hill story about crossing over, yeah, people were concerned what crowd is going to come when sit comes to play. Will it be a bunch of gay men? because that's where I come from. And a straight man don't want to be in the room with gay men, and I get that because sometimes they don't know how to act. But I'm just keeping it real, and I think for that for years it hurt me because people were like, "Well, we don't know what Sync will bring." As time progressed, and I started doing radio WJLB, I kind of got this authentic thing now. Well, since on radio, we don't care no more what she is, what she doing. We need her to come because she on radio, and so that kind of bypassed me from all the other stuff. But years prior to that, it really was, what are you doing? Who you sleeping with? If we
Wow.
were, yeah, and then, so
Maybe that's why it probably took Minx a while to come out, huh?
sure. Well, I mean,
Because
Mink.
of that.
Well,
You think?
I think Minx lived her life as being a straight woman in the earlier her earlier career, and so she might have had bisexual tendencies back then, and she decided that she wants to live her life now. But to me, her career should not be based upon her sexuality.
Right,
To me,
exactly. Yes.
Meeks is a powerhouse DJ within herself. It doesn't matter who she's
Right.
sleeping with. So who cares?
Exactly.
But I think now we're trying to figure out how to market her. Why does her sexuality matter? And that's the point. I don't like that. I think she's being boxed into a certain situation that she shouldn't have to be. She should be allowed to be Minx. It doesn't matter what her sexuality is, because of who she is and how she can play. You should be able to make money that way, not
Right.
because we're going to base her being a lesbian now. No, that's. I just don't like the whole. When we go back to this thing, what are you? And it shouldn't. 2025. It shouldn't matter. We're still. She had to make this whole transition from being just really Minx to now being Minx the lesbian. Why?
But
I mean,
it's something, like you said it in your answer, there's some sort of like market. For some reason, it became a story.
sure.
Obviously, she started, really, it's just like right during
And
that.
it had to, the thing is, you have to find a story.
Right.
So it's how do we build you to something? And so we can't just say you're a great DJ, you're a great African American, beautiful woman DJ. We've got to put this spin on it to make it seamless as a story. And to me, her story didn't have to be that. Her
Right,
story to bring
exactly. That I mean, the fact that she's is already, she's done
Manx the
incredible
powerhouse
things.
by
And Minx
herself.
is Minx.
That's
That's
her
it.
story. Why do I have to have another title? And that's the part I didn't. But this is what we're doing now. With a lot of these younger DJs are having to be classified to be a certain way to be able to be marketed. And so I go back to my girl Horse Girl. This is the same thing I'm talking about. It's all about what can we market from you. And
Right.
so
And see, that's where we got away. We were also breaking down the whole since when did the DJs become the promoters, and if
man,
they're becoming the promoters, then what is the promoter doing?
well, I mean,
You know what I mean? When the promoter used to be, you know, that was
the
the
pulpit.
party man. That was
Yeah,
the party man.
yeah,
If you got asked to play his party, those were the best parties because
yeah,
he had the people, he had the venue, he was the man. You
yeah,
played his party, that meant you were one of the best in the area to
yeah,
play. You know what I
yeah,
mean? We discussed this. But
yeah.
it's just like there's all of these hats. I get it that everybody, and we got onto this whole thing where the obviously the community needed help building, so why
Sure,
not use your friends, why not use
sure,
your
sure.
family or friends or whoever you got behind you
And we've gotten
to
too
help
far into
you.
that now. Yeah, yeah,
Now you got to do it even more because it's even more competitive and there's a
yeah.
lot more to do, and you gotta build. It's like building.
It's
It's
crazy
like the
though.
whole build.
But
It's
my
like
thing
the
is
whole
this: are
build.
we building good, or are we just building? Right now, we're just building, and we're missing the good.
Hmm.
When you have someone who has a great talent, they should be pushed to the forefront.
But they
And
used
that's
to,
not the
if they,
case.
even if the promoter, this is how they used to promote. If
Yeah,
you were on that promoter's party, whether they knew you or not, it's just
yeah,
that you were on that party and it doesn't matter. Like we
yeah,
have a guy right now who's running a show here, and I'm gonna put your name in because you need to come and play this party. I don't know when
Right.
they'll schedule it, but I know he has a laundry list of DJs.
I'm
But
sure.
it's a LGBTQ
Nice.
uh party. I'm playing it this month. It's
Nice.
called Perv, and it's awesome. And I will say this, because it's a niche market,
Hmm.
you know, it is that party.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it sells out.
Sure.
And it's like, it's in, even though he brings down people from Detroit
Hmm.
to this party every month, and they, and he's built relationships with some of these people, and they're all
Yeah.
like LGBTQ,
Yeah.
to give them shine. And even though
Sure.
our market doesn't know these people, it's because they're playing his party.
Yeah. Well, that's what you do when you
And
get established.
he's a real promoter. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
he did the work.
Yeah.
Went out there, talked to people, that's what a promoter does. That's what a salesperson does. It's part of
Pretty much.
sales and marketing. It's a part
Yeah.
of, making the connection and stuff. I get that. I commend him for that. But that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people are missing when they're promoting.
Yeah.
And even, I'm even talking to myself, because it takes like that extra energy and effort to go out there and,
To do it. Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
But if you got
What?
the energy and the
Yeah.
time, and this is what you want to do, anything's possible.
Yeah. It is. You just got to put in the work.
Right.
And it could be a lot, but the end of the day, you get all of the residuals, and that's what matters.
Yeah, but
So
when
yeah.
you have those certain parties that are doing their thing, and you want to play, it's, that's how it used to be. And it's
Yeah.
nice to have a little bit of that reminder here now. And even some of the parties the regular parties that get thrown in Detroit, that are
Yeah.
becoming those staple parties that people really
Yeah.
look forward to, and and you're going to have a great time.
Yeah. We need more. We need more. I mean, I wanted
Yes.
to continue to build, but I wanted to kind of get away from the clinish things. I don't think that'll ever change. And get back to just really having good music and good people around. We're kind
Yeah.
of we're getting away from a lot of the, like I say, social media has changed
Yeah, it has.
everything.
It
So
really has.
we're making adjustments now.
I
Yeah,
guess at some point you just got to make your own world,
pretty much.
and change it from within, and do it
Yeah,
within your own, whatever it
that's
is
it.
that you're trying to create. And I know you
Yeah,
got some music right now.
I
What's going on
do.
with your, tell me
I've
about
got
it.
quite a few. I've quite a few music out on Nubia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Records. Sorry International. I just dropped some other vinyl with them. So
Oh
I've got
my
yeah, I've got
goodness.
about 8 tracks out right now. One of the things I've been wanting to do for the last few years is get my music out here. And so last year, really 2023, working with Minx, Women on Wax, dropping that Coming to Heavens track, kind of opened up the door at that point to say, well, let me go out here and do more. And so
Mhm.
for the last 3 years, I've just been putting out more and more music. And so just dropped the EP called Hidden Gems. And so very excited about those 2 tracks. Just dropped April 3rd. So
Oh,
they're going to be out on international release April 20th. My birthday, 420.
yes. Happy early
Thank you.
birthday.
Yep. The big 420's coming. So yeah, yeah. I'm
Yes.
very excited. Yeah.
Well, here's the 420.
There it is. You saying it. You already know.
Yes. All
Yeah.
right. So, bro, I mean, okay. So you have these tracks coming out. What keeps you motivated to still stay in the studio for
Just want to
all
make
these
an
years?
impact. You know what? Now I just want to make a musical impact. I've always had music in my head. Just really wanted to actually get it out here. And this
Good.
started over the last few years to really concentrate on learning how to work programs and so now that you got these ideas, you now it's time to put it out here to the public to see. You never
Hmm.
know you're gonna have that next hey
I know that's
can I
right.
get one? Okay. Yeah, so I mean, and then that's kind of unfortunately that's the new thing today. That's kind of a part of the resume. You have to have music to come out and play in order to get these extra gigs. And so if I want to stay somewhat relevant, you kind of got to go along with the trends of what's happening. And so this is where we
I
are
know
now.
it is. It was one of those that definitely was an awakening moment for even me. But
Sure.
here I am.
You got to do what you got to do to stay here. And I
And
mean,
it's been a wonderful it's been wonderful. I love the last 3 records I put out. I'm
good
looking
stuff.
forward to
Really good
this.
stuff.
Hey, and the fact that you added me onto you want your track list,
Of course.
that was amazing.
I want to
I'm
support all
getting
the
early
time.
and recently my new record that's coming out, Minx has heard it. She loved
Nice.
it. And it's getting some early support. So I'll be sending it over there to Teresa Hill too, because she
Nice.
loves having all my stuff. So
Of
she's
course.
been a great support.
Yeah.
So it's
You
nice
know,
to
we,
get some of that early, Detroit love in there.
well, I always tell people,
And
charting DJs helps. A lot of people aren't doing that, but that's something I call like a little sneak connection because even though who looks at numbers or whatever, people do, and it does matter because your music is out here. But when you chart each other, we're all now on the same chart. I can see your music, you can see my music, I can see somebody else's music.
mhm.
I may be introduced to stuff that I didn't know was there, along with your music. So I always just tell people, do if you're out here and you're making music, do charts because, like I said, it just helps your friends and it helps the people you want to support. And for those that don't know you, here's a new avenue to find. Oh wow, who knew? Who is Lola Knows? What track is this?
Yes.
So it helps a lot. People don't realize that, but it does.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
okay, give me a sneak before we end this interview. Give me a sneak peek. What kind of are you going to be bringing some of your original music out to movement this year? Some of
I
your new
am.
stuff? You going to
I'm,
include?
I'm very theatrical, so I've been putting out some shit. Very theatrical records. So a lot of drama, a lot of build up, a lot of
Oh, great.
yes. I just like to have fun. I found some once again. If you came to my set last year, it was lots of fun, lots of different sounds and noises and things happening. And I come from an era of the drama. If you're not dramatic the way you dress and how you are, then your
Mhm.
music should be dramatic. And so I'm not a flashy dresser. I've never been the fashionista, but
Mhm.
damn it, I can make some dramatic music happen. So that's what movement's going to be this year. Very dramatic. I got some stuff. I'm excited.
I'm excited for
We're
you,
gonna be dancing
seriously.
cartwheeling around the
We
festival. So
really
yeah,
are. We
yeah, it's gonna be
really
fun.
are. Now, let me ask you something. How do you stay motivated and uplifted in the face of adversity, especially during times like this?
I
What
mean,
kinds
that's
of
all you
self-care are
have.
you doing?
You know what? I've been through so much. Music has always been my uplifting thing. So a lot of times, me finding that next hot track, that you like. When I'll just throw one out. When I heard Charisma Spirit, have you heard
Mm.
Charisma Spirit?
Oh.
Something like that. When you tap on something that I know your spirit. Come on now, how can you not love this business when that comes on and I'm an old
Oh,
church
yeah.
girl. I've been a religious girl. Not I used to go to heaven. That was one of the things people talked about with Ken. Ken Collier, baby, would have a dark room full of just men sweating, and he might have put on some sexual track. But then all of a sudden, here comes inspiration,
Mm.
and he would hit you, with these tracks that make you think, oh my God, and it's so powerful. And so I miss that, and so that's what I want when I play. I want, like I said, that charisma track, and DJ Spin was big for that. There were certain producers that would make that track on the right system at the right moment could change your complete life. I've been in clubs where I cried on the dance floor when I've had heavy times in my life, and
Mhm.
I didn't go to the club to cry, but the music empowered and impacted me so heavily. It just made all that emotion come out. And so that's what I want to be able to do, and I hope to continue to do. And that's what drives me to continue to want to do this. Because if I can have one person come to me and say, "Oh my God, DJ Sent, I came and saw you," or "I remember when you did this," that's really what it's about. Because you've touched somebody, and so
Mhm.
that's what music is made to do. It's not about
Exactly.
entertainment. It's really about touching you. And so that's somebody's got to stay here to touch the folks.
I know that's right. We have to get back to that. It's like even Frankie Knuckles' words ring true, when you think that you're above the music, you lost.
He's lost. Yeah, yeah, that's
And
so
so he
true.
tries it. It's such a great thing because it's just like, what are you doing it for if you're not really
Yeah.
connecting?
I mean, now
Finding
I
yourself,
understand
but you're
because corporate,
connecting to
yeah,
others through that. And I think that that's rings true, but it's just about being able to just really just connect and make some,
sure.
bring some healing for me anyway.
For me
Because I
too.
know a
Yeah.
lot of these DJs over the years have healed my heart and soul.
You better say it. You better say it.
Let me
That
tell
was what we,
you, I
yeah,
seriously, all I must, I'm moved by every time I listen. I just sit still. I enjoy the moment. I put my phone down just to take it all in,
yeah.
even in that moment.
But
Dance.
with corporate America jumping into the house and dance scene, it's about money now, and so these guys are
Mm-hmm.
getting paid pretty good. So it's almost like not about the feeling anymore. It's about who can put numbers in a room, and so we'll see where it's
It's
going to go.
already been that way. When I got into producing my own show, yeah, I knew that very much so. It's just
Hello,
even just trying to build something and doing something. I do this little month. Do this monthly called Dirty Disco up here in
nice.
Akron, and it's at this awesome speakeasy. And I have an opportunity to bring my music into an
Hello,
area and keep that area nice and filled with some good house music,
hello.
and like I said, I usually build that night, start a little easy, go in and then just start, rocking it out when it just starts getting into those later hours and just
There
doing
it is.
whatever the hell.
The build up. There it
Yeah.
is. I love
Yeah,
it.
and it's always nice. So
Yeah,
I have goals with that, and I'm happy to be in a space with other creators that know what I do and know
yeah,
what I give and what gives back to them and their community. And it's such a
yeah.
beautiful thing to be
Hello.
in a good partnership with people like that
Yeah, yeah. Say that.
and to have, that
Okay.
support.
Yeah.
It's been a huge blessing. So it's just about, like I said, it's been building for the last couple of years. I'm getting excited about what's to come in the future and bringing, you know, making it a real like, getting like a friend or two to or, some of my friends to come down and do the party with me
Well,
down
it's
the
a
road.
build, like you say. It's a growth, the thing is, it gives you a place to be who you are, and that's what's really important too.
Yeah. Cause I'm getting to know my people out there too, and
There it
the
is.
people and enjoying that time, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things. It's just like being a promoter and the talent,
Man,
it's just like, come
come
on
on for the
now,
work.
but it has it's one of those things, I'm
Yeah,
just having a nice little show in my neighborhood, and
I like it.
it's nice, a nice little gathering.
There it is. I like it.
And I love it. Okay, so DJ Sent, I'm gonna close this show out, but do you have a website, or
No,
everybody find you on your socials?
yeah, just social DJ Sid Detroit.
DJ Sent Detroit on all
Yeah,
of your socials. Now,
yeah,
do you release most of your stuff? Do you have like, I know you have like a band camp.
uh-huh.
So you have music there and you have music on all major platforms.
I do. Under
Okay.
DJ
Are
Sid. Yeah,
under DJ Sent. So
yeah.
are you your latest record, is it being released through a label?
Yes, Nobia Records.
Nobia. Okay.
Yeah,
Where are they based out of?
France.
France. Me and you both got some French labels this
There it
year.
is. I like it.
My record, Higher Place, it's being released on May 9th. It's gonna through Ritual Beats, based in
Nice,
France.
nice. And they love our music, so
I know. I'm excited.
I am too. Very good for you. Good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really excited for this next release. It's a really good record. And so I'm
there it
making
is
sure I want you to listen to it too.
for sure.
Um I'll send you a link, a little private
Nice,
link to it, okay?
perfect.
All right, DJ Sen. Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to be
you.
here. I know. Oh,
Okay.
you do your Monday night stream.
I'm actually going to go on at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8.
Okay, so every Monday from
Yeah,
6 to 8 on Twitch. And do you
Twitch,
do
YouTube,
YouTube
Instagram,
and
yeah,
Facebook? So
Facebook.
You
all of
restrict,
them.
yeah, all of them. So you're on
Yeah,
there. How do you manage all those chats?
just it's just one. Restream has you all in the chat room for all of them at one point.
Oh, really?
You get
Nice.
5 outlets, and they all come into one room for one chat. So
That's
I just chat
awesome.
to one thing, and it goes to all 5 places.
Good for
So it
you.
helps. Yeah, it's
It
work, but
helps. It
still,
it helps.
trust me. Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
multitasking still. You know how you got to do. Got to go to
Yeah.
YouTube and make sure they're okay. Go to Twitch to make sure they're okay. So
I will say this, I'm proud of everybody who has been evolving through the changing times and,
sure,
finding, something to learn from it and grow from it. So it's beautiful to see and
it is.
witness. And it's
Hello,
so nice to be able to, I mean, if you've got a spirit to still create and to still
man.
share, do that.
I just say become a warrior because it's gonna be it's a long journey, it's a fight, and so if you want to stay out here, you gotta figure out where you can be, but don't be afraid to create your own thing because that may be the next thing that pulls you into the scene. So
I
you don't
love
wait on somebody to knock on the door. Come knock the door yourself.
Amen. On
Yeah,
that note, thank you for tuning into this
thank you.
episode of In the Know with Lolo Knows. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with DJ Sen as much as I did. Don't forget to follow the channel for more incredible stories and uplifting vibes. You can also listen to my music on all major platforms, wherever you buy or stream your tunes. And be sure to stay tuned for my up and coming single Higher Place dropping for pre-sale on Friday, May 9th on TrackSource. Connect with DJ Scent on social media to keep the energy going. Find her on Facebook, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and more. All the links are in the description. And until next time, keep the
Woo
music
woo.
playing and your hearts open. See you soon.
Bye.